So, hello, good evening. I think everyone looks a little tired, but I think we can have some energy in the room. Our topic for today is a time to change. How 2023 marketing aspects need to change, and we can see from a different lens altogether. So, firstly, thank you, Mr. Sana, Mr. Deepinder, Mr. Aditya, and Mr. I'm sorry, Deepak, to join us for our wonderful discussion. So, firstly, what I would like to know from you is that marketers have been, marketing has been a extraordinary field altogether, and it has proved itself over the years. What difference or what do you find different in 2023 that needs to take place? If you can start with one person, with Mr. Sana.
Hi everyone. I think it's definitely a time for change, right? So we are in a world which is post-COVID, and in this world, a lot of things have changed. The last 3 years have been very different, and the way we have our lives, right? The way we work, there's work from home, there's work from office, hybrid. So a lot of disruption has happened, which has changed the way essentially we spend our time. There's a lot more digital activity happening with people spending more time at home on digital devices. And now, with the onset of AI is the other buzzword that we're hearing, right? So I think, but having said that, these are, I would say, uh, you know, something which is happening new. But at the same time, as a marketer, I think what I look at is, that we have to be very clear with the basics. I think that's where I kind of pivot myself, because times will keep on changing. There will be some disruption or the other happening, but how I work as a marketer is to uh, pivot it on the understanding of the consumer, the basic human behavior, right? So anything we do in terms of creating something valuable stems from how I think a consumer would see things. So I think that's the the first instinctive
So we'll
to that
come to
question.
more discussions
Yeah.
further. So, Mr. Deepinder, what would be your opening comments on how do you find marketing has changed over the years?
See, I think how it changed over the year was that how we would first reach out to people and tell them more about the product, and it was more around branding, that how who can brand the product better,
Can you just move that?
and how can you get your message across to people. And then there came a time of digital where people were looking for a question, and the person who could answer it the best was the one who was grabbing everything out there in the digital world. Now there is a third wave which is coming, which is of AI, where, uh, to be honest, my time spent on Google has now shifted more towards ChatGPT for getting answers. It's not that I'm any longer dependent on Google. So the requirement right now is to adapt to where the consumer is going. The consumer went from a TV and outdoors to a Google search engine. Now he's going towards an AI engine. How do you ensure that you are part of that search which is happening? How are you part of that space that is available to convey your message? I think that is very critical, and that's how we need to change and adapt towards it, so to be successful in today's world.
Mr. Deepak, your opening comments?
I think in 2023, what has changed fundamentally is that we have Gen Z marketers now in our offices, and the way they look at marketing is quite evolved, and we need to be ready for that. Earlier, we had people who wanted to become like a brand marketer, or say, I wanted to become a digital marketer. There were social media community managers, but now we have marketing talent who has a more nuanced outlook towards their career. Like, I have some team members who are primarily from a design background, but they also want to understand how does CLM work, and they also want to look at the data behind how their creatives are actually performing, because that is going to act as an input for them, how they look at their entire set of creatives. So I think this is one change which is coming, and I think a lot of marketers are now realizing that Gone are the days where there were silos, where you had a traditional brand marketer, a digital marketer, and a media manager separately. All these roles are coming together, and the expectation is that a marketer, irrespective of what his specialization is, should be empathetic to understand what are the other specializations and how do they add value to the table. I think that's another evolution that you see across in these days in your organizations, actually.
Lovely. Mr. Aditya?
Now, you asked a pretty relevant question, right? And my fellow panelists have covered a lot of things. Now, to summarize this, right? I mean, when we look towards the future, the answers lie in the history. Now, talk about Web 1.0. The competitive advantage was having information. Web 2.0 was having intelligence over that information. Now we are moving to a world where we need to decouple intelligence and consciousness. Now, and that's where the marketing job is really, really important. Because what is consciousness? Consciousness is talking purpose. Consciousness is understanding your consumer, whatever channel they are in, what are jobs to be done for whatever brand, whatever industry, and then activate your brand accordingly, be it messaging, be it the transact phase, or be it the post service phase, right? So I personally believe while we are in pretty interesting times, right? I mean, the messaging is critical. Technology advancement has happened, but the key is now how to realize value out of that technology, right? Because you cannot, I mean, there is platforms available, but can you contextualize your brand purpose to the platform? And that's where the real uh, uh, game of marketers are today.
So, Aditya, I want you to speak on this. So, since you spoke about technology, and we were on the topic of consumers as well. Our topic is how marketing in 2023 needs a different lens altogether. So, how has technology evolved, and how can we enable it to attract consumers, customers with new tech that has come up in order to enhance engagement and drive growth for your brand and businesses?
Right. So, so whenever we talk about marketeers, right, I mean, we need to define where the value is. And the value typically would be towards the growth side or the efficiency side, right? Either the top line or the bottom line. Now, on the top line, you need to understand what drives growth. I'll just quote some numbers, and I'll try to make a point out here, right? 3 out of 4 consumers today will use digital channels to really do a purchase. Back 5 years down, when I was consulting few companies, the digital share of the overall revenue was hardly 2%. Today, the benchmark is 25%, right? In terms of efficiency, there is a lot of technology which has come in. We are talking about marketing automation. We are talking about robot automation. We are talking about GPT, AI, and whatnot, right? The key is to really understand the pulse. I'll take some examples here, right? When you talk about let's say a leading fashion brand, they are not selling the product, they're selling a message. A leading telecom company today is really not about selling the services, they want to be a lifestyle partner for their consumers. A F&B brand today are selling a lifestyle choice for the consumer, right? When you are truly invested in a consumer experience so that you push the consumer to drive the envelope on themselves, they feel engaged. And then you tie back what is a total experience. There is a customer experience on digital channel, there is a physical experience, then there is operational experience, and then there is data experience, right? So when you tie all of this together with the right technology, there are millions of platforms today doing that, right? That makes the pulse moving. So that would be my answer.
So, Deepak, the same for you. So, with technology coming up in marketing, so there's AI, AR, VR, voice messaging, the last session that we were covering on this only. So, how is it helping to attract customers in order to engage more with them and drive growth and make them loyal to themselves?
I think the buzzwords might have caught in right now, but AR, VR is something that has been happening across different different platforms. You can see a lot of e-commerce platforms actually have a VR experience of how you can actually have your product in your specific room. How will that be available? Similarly, if you have to understand, there are actually gaming zones in Bombay where called zero latency, where you're actually wearing up the entire uh, Oculus and you're actually playing gun battles out over there. And this is an experience that I got to know because of the team, the young team that I have in my company. So there are people who are going for those kind of evolved experiences. And but what I wanted to get everyone's attention is that let's not actually be too focused on buzzword like chat gpt. Let's understand that in the last 3 months there is the highest amount of Google searches that have ever happened, which has not happened in the last 4 years. So Google search is not going anywhere. We should try and get the real, not get too hyped about the buzzwords, but also focused on how things that we need to do for the customers that are really relevant for them. For example, if you are a brand, a retail brand, the focus needs to be of how you make that experience superlative. For that, it means that you don't need to again and again send him messages of, listen, this is the sale that is there for you. You need to understand and build a CDP platform such that you understand what are the buying patterns of the customer, what would be the right messaging that should go to the customer, and it's not just spray and pray. I think these nuances as marketers is something that is essential for us to make sure that we are using technology to enhance the customer experience and stop this spray and pray that has been happening till now.
So, Mr. Singh, how do you think that technology has come up in new ways, and how is it enabling businesses to connect, again, to drive growth?
See, I believe technology is a but I think one thing is very clear with the entire panel is that it is focused on the consumer, and everything that we do is to enhance the experience. So it could be, uh, let's say, in our case, where it's a journey of a person recovery from suffering from a disease to a stage where he's completely healed. There are multiple touch points required. His interaction with the doctor, his uh, uh, he coming to know about his pre-auth. So at every point, technology has to be used. So be it WhatsApp, be it SMS, be it your site's push notifications. Although people believe it is dead, but there are certain times people go on the website, try to look for have I got an approval? So we send them across these messages. And if you're not utilizing all the touch points, and if you're not utilizing the technology to its core, then there is no point. There are people who are calling you up who want to understand. Uh, just to give you an example, uh, people talk a lot about generative AI. There are also conversational AIs which are there. Now we are trying to leverage conversational AIs because a lot of people who are going through the process have certain number of queries which come to us which require them to be answered. Now 90% of these queries are the same, and we already have answer in our databases that what is the answer will need to be given to the person, and you can always utilize that generative AI to give that answer, that conversational AI to give that answer, rather than a team of 50 people sitting there just attending to those calls and giving out. It's not only about uh, the reduction of your cost as a marketer, it's also about the answer that person can get quickly. So let's say if you call up a call center, what happens in most of the cases is a person picks up the call, he says, give me 5 minutes to get back to you. Now they are going to go back and search in the database. Now your AI already has the access to it. If you're not using that technology, you are spoiling their experience. And the worst thing I have is waiting for 5 to 10 minutes to get an answer from a customer experience team that, you know, what has happened to it, be it an order from Swiggy, be it a issue with my Amazon package or anything. And if there is an answer which is coming instantly, I am delighted. And that's what you can, how you can leverage technology to deliver better results.
So, in your words, technology is enabling us.
Sure.
Okay, so Mr. Sana, in your industry, what are the new ways that you look forward to in interacting with your consumers, in driving growth, when it comes to generative AI, when it comes to Chat GPT? How are you leveraging technology in your industry?
Technology where it has helped, if I just cover that part, so it's helped in two things, right? First is giving more touch points. I think today more than ever we have so many different touch points where we can interact with the consumer. That's one. I think the other point which technology has enabled us in terms of, and which we could not do before, is in terms of giving personalized content. Now, see, personalization is not easy. It has to be targeted to either a cohort of people. I mean, earlier it was a cohort because one could only have so many personalized cohorts. But today, with the advent of technology and data behind it, we have so much data. We can actually, theoretically, it's possible to give personalized content to every single individual, right? So it's about mass personalization. I think that's what tech gives us today. Uh, However, what tech cannot do is in terms of giving the final delivery, that emotional message that converts the consumer's behavior to be loyal or to start adopting your brand. I think that's where that's where at least what I'm trying to do. I mean, in my industry is to add that. If we have data, we know so much about the consumer, right? But what's important is, I mean, it's gone beyond that level that we know so much. Let's show how much we know to the consumer. I think it's gone a step beyond that. The ideal state is that when the consumer sees our communication, he or she should feel this brand knows me. I think that's the kind of holy grail if you can touch that. I mean, a few examples, right? Recently, I came through this offering by IKEA. I think I saw it in a reel or something. So IKEA has come up with this university student box, for people who are getting into university for the first time, stepping away from home. It was just simple premise, right? It had all the necessities: notebooks, cooking utensils, spoons, for the guy who's going out of their house for the first time. So I think that's where our job comes in as a marketer, to give that human appeal. Now, coming specifically to our industry, that's what we've been trying to do, and I'll give an example. So I represent Bausch and Lomb, and we work in the contact lens industry. And how we're trying to do is, let's say, 3D movies, right? It's something new. It's some movies that get released, the big news around it, and but the problem with 3D movies is that people who wear spectacles, they have a problem uh, watching those movies, right? So what we do is we kind of combined human need with that new tech, and we put up stalls in PVRs, and we looked at anyone coming in with spectacles, and we had a team of promoters and trained, let's say, optometrists who could fit the contact lens. And we said, hey, sir, you seem to be wearing spectacles. Would you want to enjoy this movie without spectacles? And then, yeah, they were very keen. So then we kind of, took his power on the spot, fit a contact lens, and then they went in and watched the movie, and it was a great experience, right? So I think it's about, I mean, going beyond tech. Tech will give you that data, the information to really leverage on things, but the delivery has to be that the recipient, which is our consumer, should feel that the brand knows me. I think that would be my take.
So, as you touched on the point, it's okay. So, Aditya, in your industry, as per se, as he connected to a point where customers need emotional resonance in their campaigns. So, in the era where economic uncertainties are there, how can marketeers leverage their creativity, which marketeers are known for, in order to connect with their audience? Because they need, in today's days, they need a purpose. They're very woke. They know what they're doing. So, how would you say marketers leverage their creativity in order to make those purposeful campaigns in today's date?
Now, marketers is an industry which is marriage of art and science, right? So the left side and the right side of the brain should work equally efficiently to deliver the right purpose. Now, the key, and you asked a pretty relevant question, right? I think while you draft a purposeful brand message, there are three key aspects you need to look on. The first is storytelling. For different target segment, for different channels, for different engagements, the storytelling will be different, but the brand messaging will be consistent. The second is omni-channel or multi-channel, right? While you're delivering the customer 360-degree or the interaction, the experience across channel has to be same. For example, if I'm buying a shoe from a marketplace and I want to return it on a physical store, not in the same region but a different region, and I call a call center, that the person should have the integration to know the entire consumer journey, and that will create the experience.
How would you showcase it in a campaign?
Yeah. So now the thing is, the campaigns are evolving, right? So, for example, earlier the TV campaigns or the traditional media campaigns were having a buzzword or was catching on the product or the value proposition you're delivering, right? Now we have evolved over time. Now we see campaigns where we're just not talking about products, right? We're talking about a higher brand purpose, like say fast fashion. They're talking about sustainability now. Telecom, they're talking about lifestyle, how can they impact their consumers lifestyle. Let's talk about B2B. The companies are talking about thought leadership through their ABM campaigns. They are not talking about the services. They're talking about how as a thought leader we can impact and what is the future and how does it look like, right? So the context, the fundamentals remains the same. How you reach out is changing and evolving, and that has to do with a lot of things, from your brand ad strategist to the copywriters to the one who is implementing it across channels. That would change.
Lovely. So, Mr. Singh, on the same note, because see, as I mentioned, that marketeers today have how can they leverage creativity in their campaigns, in their thought process? Because consumers are very selective. How can you foster brand loyalty in order to gain their confidence?
So, if you look at it, because I spend a lot of time running digital, and we know that in every case scenario, when a consumer comes to you or reaches out to you, even if it is for the same problem, it's a different consumer from a differentiated segment. Because unfortunately or fortunately, when in a healthcare space, you do not choose the age in which you are diagnosed, and but in every case your expectations are different. For someone to be loyal to my brand, for a guy who is working in a let's say a corporate who has an insurance, who wants that I should get a coverage of my insurance in wherever hospital I go, I don't have to run around and fill my forms. There is a person who is looking for that, who can provide me with the most amount of convenience that I'm looking for. And we are leveraging that in terms of our communication. So our communication, when goes to a corporate, goes differently, and to a guy who's let's say running an odd job and who's still suffering, my pitch would be no cost EMI versus an insurance coverage. So how you are using it, your creativity, it actually, because your customers differ so much, that to communicate, although you're providing them the solution, your communication keeps on changing as and when that is required. So your creatives, your communication, everything changes.
Okay. So, Mr. Deepak, so coming on to you, so what I would like to know from you is that today marketeers are present everywhere. So brands also prefer that they go for a mix of traditional as well as digital media. So we have a dominance of digital media in today's date with Gen Z and Gen Alpha coming up. But consumers are still very much intact to traditional media. So how as a marketer would you put up that how can a blend of the two of them help you in gaining more audience, a wider reach?
I think there is no one size fit all solution actually. Brands need to understand what is their objective. In case you're looking for a more city specific campaign, for example, right now there's Onam that is gonna come in, right? You are not going to be actually doing an all out Onam campaign across the country through ATL. But on the traditional media, what you will do is actually you will target all the Malayalam media across the offline medium, and on the digital medium you will be targeting people who are who are from Kerala or are speaking Malayali or are consuming Malayalam content. Now, this is a mix if you're trying to target people who are going to do maximum transactions during Onam. Onam is actually the onset of consumer buying across India. So that is what you will be doing in case that is what your focus is. But if your focus is to do a large burst campaign, in that scenario, what you will be doing is you will be doing a 360-degree marketing. But nowadays, you have to work with your partners. You can actually use cross media planning. I think you should be actually doing Kantar research to understand the effectiveness of which medium is influencing what impact on your target segment, and basis that you can decide on the weights of media that you're actually investing in. One of the things that I would like to share over here is that we've understood that the frequency of 3 can actually do the job for us, but an additional frequency on a YouTube could help the customer actually influence and visit to the offline store, because that YouTube is served while the customer is on the move. Now, these kind of nuances can come through via research. So I would really request all marketers to focus on research, get the learnings, build the insights, and don't try one size fit all kind of solutions. Work with your partners and your media agencies to get the most nuanced solution such that there is a better ROAS versus the dollar spend that you do.
Perfect. So I also believe that regional marketing is something, I think it's growing tremendously day by day. Tier 2 cities, Tier 3 cities are all becoming a part of the bigger spectrum. So Mr. Sana, on the same note, so as an what are the benefits do you feel that an omni-channel presence has in today's date when you are targeting a wider audience with a mix of traditional? Because a lot of, I think Bosch and Lomb especially has a lot of audience that comes from social media marketing as well, because the young audience are more inclined towards wearing lens. I earlier when I was younger, so I also used to come across lens. So how would you say, how does it increases, or what are the benefits of omni-channel marketing in your case?
I think omnichannel is extremely important because everyone has multiple screens, right, these days. So whether it's a television which is on, but at the same time you have an iPad or a phone with you which you're browsing through. So at any point of time, there's so many touch points that one is going through. So it's important that you are present. Now the caveat here is, or the catch here is that we discussed, right, one size doesn't fit all. So it also stands true for the kind of content we put. So it has to be, I would say, catered to the media vehicle that we're using, right? So for example, if I give the example of Bosch and Lomb also, we are predominantly present on digital because the fact that our audience has that, we need audience who need vision correction. So it's not just everyone that we need to advertise to. Now within vision correction, since we are going digital, so we have the ability to, let's say, do targets, right? Now, if you look at, let's say, YouTube, or if you look at an OTT platform, there the kind of content that is consumed is very different. So of course I have to be present on YouTube, I have to be present on OTT platforms. At the same time, we have the young audience, so I have to be present on Instagram. But the content that has to be present on these two platforms have to be very different. So gone are the days where you make one film and then you make different snippets out of it. You shoot a 16 by 9 film, and then you cut it and crop it and paste it across different media platforms. Gone are those days. In fact, these days, we plan the shoot that way. So in some of our campaigns on Bosch, what we've done is we had the shoot plan for the main film, but we also had a shoot planned separately for all the snippets that we were going to put on Instagram. So we had a full plan of, okay, this is the hero content. To support this, we'll have 5 reels. Now these reels have to be shot differently in a different setup, and these reels were not shot by the main video camera which is being used for the main film. They're actually shot with an iPhone in 9 by 16 format, to give that authenticity. So I think omni-channel presence is very important given today's day and age, and people being present across different media. But what is important is to make sure that your content is made for that medium. So it has to be medium out rather than content out.
So, Aditya, so when we look at marketing from a different lens altogether, so in that scenario, how do you go through with the ongoing process of learning? Because marketing is something which changes every 6 months. So how do you stay updated with the latest trends, with the new technologies coming in? How do you leverage the entire marketing landscape with using those?
Uh, so ongoing learning is part of, I mean, professional or personal, right? I think the key is to really look at the headwinds and the tailwinds, right? And to understand what trend makes sense for my business, my context, and then really get down onto the implementation, right? So the so what analysis is very important. How do we really do this for the clients I have worked on? I could tell you that, as you mentioned, omni-channel is important, but what does that really mean? That really means that storytelling across multiple channels lead to sales, right? So any channel which doesn't generate uh, dollars or commerce is good for engagement, but is not solving a business problem, right? Now you look into what is the back end doing in here, right? So there is system of engagements where your customers are engaging with you on a day-to-day basis. Then there are system of records, which are the CRMs and the ERPs of the world, where you are making sense of that data. You are building that customer 360 degree. And then there is this privacy analytics and a few other layers, right? You need to really understand that while we are leveraging technology, what are the use cases we are solving for? And I'll just double click on the point gentleman mentioned, that omni-channel helps us get the right consumers, because I'll just talk about few data points, which is across 3 or 4 client implementation. When you get a digital customer, the return rates are much, the repeat visits and the frequency is higher, so the LTV gets affected, right? Second, the cost to acquire a digital customer over a traditional media is 1/5. I mean, these are stats, but I'm making a point that consistently the top line and the bottom line impacts, right? And how do you really leverage it is by having a measurement framework, choosing the right KPIs, tracking them on a good cadence, and making some relevant conversations internally and with the client, with the customers.
So, Mr. Singh, on the same note, how do you, in your industry, how do you stay relevant and updated with the latest industry trends? How do you leverage technology in that scenarios? How do you cope up with it? I know we are a little short on time, but if we can quickly wrap it up.
It's very important that digitally everything changes. There's a new format which will come out. There'll be a new advertising space which will come out. So taking an example, a few days back there was Threads which was launched, and the first thing was that how are we going to leverage it, and a week later we are talking about why were we thinking about it. So the world is changing very quickly, and also how you communicate also changes. We went WhatsApp was launched, that you can take directly from ads people to WhatsApp. Now we knew that Facebook for a very long time has been a source where uh, if you're in a lead gen kind of a business where you are attracting customers not for sales and for a longer duration cycles, there is qualification issues, and that gets solved by WhatsApp. Now if you're not using that and you're not adopting it, you're going to be left behind. So it's very important to learn what is new that has come out and how can you leverage it. It's very critical for your business and its growth.
Perfect. So, Mr. Deepak, same question to you. How do you stay updated with the trends? And as he mentioned, social media marketing, as he mentioned, threads. Twitter also turned into X. Their WhatsApp is continuously bringing on new updates. How do you, similarly, how do you stay relevant and how do you stay updated with the industry trends to connect with your consumers?
Firstly, I think everyone as a marketer needs to always remember we are in the business of learning, unlearning, and relearning. As long as you're doing that, you will stay relevant. And there are mediums for how a marketer can get all the information. We all have smartphones. You all can subscribe to your RSS feeds of what is happening on digital marketing or say CLM. Whatever is your area of specialization, I think you should have those interests in your flipboards and your fiddlies and stuff. Those tools give you information right and then when they happen. You need to also read them and make sure that that information is shared across. Like the Google I/O happened, that has introduced a lot of new tools in performance marketing. You need to be ready to go and adapt those kind of things right away. For example, the Google Merchant Center is going to see a complete new rehaul. You need to make sure that you're reaching out to your IT team, telling them that this is the kind of an update, and therefore the mechanism of how the feed is populated for your performance ads, they need to now go and adapt a new mechanism altogether. Similarly, how your SEO algorithms keep on updating, you need to also make sure that you're in touch with your SEO partner to ensure that you are making updates on your website basis that. So I think it's a constant process and we should keep going on it.
Great. So, Mr. Sana, so on any last thoughts that how do you stay relevant and updated in the industry to cater to your audience?
Yeah, I think, of course, at a personal front, I mean, things like in shorts, Mado marketing, these help. I mean, they give you the daily kind of, updates on what's happening. But I think, at least for me, a very strong source of something new is actually my agency partner. So because they work with so many other clients, right? They work with so many other clients. They are in tune with what's happening in the industry. So I think in practice, that's also a very key source of information in terms of what's happening because they see how things are going on. They've worked with many clients. They've worked on multiple campaigns. So how we do is we have a system of competition updates coming to us where we see what our competition is doing, what the industry is doing, and what in general is a trend. These are kind of three things we kind of cover in our regular updates with the agency. And I mean, by design, we will get to know something which is coming new, be it topical or be it a major radical change. And then it's up to us whether it's relevant for our industry or not. But the important fact is that I think the agency partners, be it your media agency, creative agency, digital marketing agency, and they're also key source of information, at least for brands.
To keep you updated.
Yes.
So wonderful. So
I just want to add one more plug over here. You can also read Business World to keep yourself
every
updated.
day. Every day you should read Business World and BW Marketing World, please. So yes, on the last thought. So definitely, as we in 2023, we need marketing from a different lens. We talked about technology. We talked about consumer insights. We talked about how to leverage and stay updated in the recent times. I think thank you for being so insightful in the session, in the panel discussion. And please give a round of applause for all our panelists. So thank you so much for being here.